So you got yourself a Fox body. Your car doesn't have a lot of modifications done to it, and you need to know what to do to get a little more power out of your car. Now in this video, we're not gonna go over the top with all kinds of crazy recommendations with superchargers and turbos, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it back to the basics. We're gonna talk about a few of the modifications you can do to get a little more pep in your pony step. All right, so sadly, I don't have a stock Fox body to show you some of the modifications that I'm going to be speaking about. So if you have a stock Fox body and you still have your air box intact and things like that, absolutely a K&N air filter will help your car out. You can just leave it in the box. A lot of times you're going to have something like this sitting up here, right? That's a decent upgrade, but just know that all the heat from the engine is going to heat soak this, okay? And you're going to be pulling a lot of hot air into your engine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're the worst thing ever, but they're really not the best option. Anytime you can get cool air from the fender, you'll actually be better off. Moving on to your mass airflow meter. If you still have your stock mass airflow meter, there's a little screen that goes in right here. You can take that screen out. That's something we used to do. I can't tell you how much horsepower that's worth, but it's definitely something that you want to go ahead and take out because it will restrict flow. And if you take it out, you're going to definitely increase flow. Also, the obvious, go ahead and move your timing up. Bump your timing up on your car from 12 to 14 degrees. Those are good, safe numbers. I will tell you this, if you got a car with a lot of mileage on it, it might not like 14 degrees, okay? As you increase the timing, things are gonna start to heat up in the cylinder. So remember that. If you've got a really good, clean combustion chamber, you can probably get away with 14 degrees. If you got a dirty engine, maybe not. Bypass your smog pump with a short belt. Now, that's the easiest route. There are numbers out there online that you can look up as long as you have stock pulleys, and they can give you that belt length that you're going to need. If you want to take it to the extreme, and I have done this back in the day, and I don't remember the exact configuration, but there is a way that you can bypass smog pump, AC, and power steering. I think we did some type of adjuster here on the alternator. So you basically just use your alternator to tighten the belt up. So kind of like your On3 alternator bracket kit. When you do that, you don't have to have your tensioner anymore, and you can do all sorts of belt configurations. So play around with that. If you guys really want to feel a difference in your car, put that shortest belt that you can to where you're only running your water pump and your alternator. It makes a huge difference on these cars. So maybe you got a hot race for the night and you just need to go out and get all the power you can get out of this thing. That's the way to go. All right, so next up, we got to go underneath the car. And as you can see, there's been certain modifications done to this car. Now what you're looking at here is a stock H-pipe that's been modified. Now, you guys can put two and two together here to understand what I'm talking about. Take that loose and you find your way up in there. Do a little bit of probing around in there, and I think you might find some horsepower. From this point on, there's not a lot that I can tell you that's free to do. There is one other thing that won't necessarily give you more horsepower, but it will help a stock car transfer weight a little bit better. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So what you can do if you're looking for a little more traction is you can remove your sway bar. Now, this is the only spot that you need to remove your sway bar from is your end links. And go ahead and take those off and then actually leave the sway bar down here. You don't have to take it all the way off, but the biggest thing you want to do is remove your sway bar end links. What that's going to do is allow the car to transfer weight better. Now, I know there's a lot of different ways to get traction these days. You have anti-squat and things like that with separation. But when we're talking about bare bone stuff and old school techniques, that's what we did. And it does work. Just know that your car is not going to handle the same, so be aware of that. All right, so next up is one of those things that's going to cost you some money. We all know the difference that gears make in a Fox body Mustang. These cars are light Gears make a difference in any car, but they really make a huge difference in these things because the car's super light. If you will search around, you can find a set of Ford Motorsport gears somewhere. On Facebook, from a friend of a friend, or whatever the case may be. Most of these cars came with 273s to 308 gears. That's about all you're gonna find. All right, so if you go from a 273 gear to a 355 gear, guys, that's gonna be the biggest bang for the buck that you can do to one of these cars. And I do mean over a set of heads or anything, a cam. There's no one single modification that you can do to these cars short of like a blower or turbo or nitrous. Excluding those, there's no other modification out here, single modification, that's gonna give you the same feel, seat of the pants, that I said a gears will. So what I'm getting at here is, if you will, look around and you can find a set of Ford Motorsport gears. And the reason why I say motorsport, and I also think motive gear, is most of the time you don't even have to shim the rear end. This would be a really good opportunity for you guys that are wanting to get into working on your own car. Get in the driveway, find you a set of motorsport gears. You can probably pick a set up for 100 bucks, something like that, used. You can buy the tools from Harbor Freight that you need to check backlash, or if you're really good at it and you've done it before, you know how to check it yourself by eye and by ear. But not a lot of people know how to do that. All of my cars have been set up by ear and by eye. That's it. But it's 355 gears are gonna just absolutely wake your car up. So that's my recommendation. So you can see this hack job up here that I've done to adapt all this stuff up and make it work. But you also know how good this car sounds. This is one of the best sounding cars that I have. So here's a shout out to all the guys that are rigging setups and making them work. I try to save money where I can too. What I recommend now are the Jones mufflers. You can get them from LMR and probably other places as well. But the Jones full bore mufflers are very similar to a Flowmaster. They're not the exact same. They're not going to be as deep of a sound. They're more of a raspy sound. I'll try to include a clip right here for you guys. So before we get into this, I do want to mention one more thing, and that's going to be tires. You need tires. You do all this stuff, your car's got to hook a little better, right? A set of drag radials are huge. You need those. Here's the deal though. Drag radials are super expensive. I mean, if you're on a budget, they're extremely expensive. So my recommendation is look around, ask a friend, look on Facebook Marketplace. Find you a half-ass, worn-out drag radial. It's okay, and hear me out. I'm gonna tell you why. Find you an old drag radial that maybe you can just take to the track or drive on sunny days. Drag radials are already notorious for not being good in wet weather, so you definitely don't want a slick drag radial and trying to drive that in the rain. That's just not a good idea. It's not safe, and if you cause a wreck, it's gonna be your fault. But hear me out here. It'd be perfect for you on a nice sunny day to go out and maybe get some draggy times on your car if you have one of those, or take it to the drag strip and get yourself some good times on it and play around. You don't have to go out and spend $600 on a set of rear tires, especially for something with the modifications that we're talking about. You're not gonna need all that tire. An old slick would be fine. You know, people have old slicks that they kind of discard as they race and they start to wear out. But if you're running a setup like we just talked about, that old slick will probably hook your car just fine. With all the little modifications that we've talked about right now, and I'm sure there are more, I'm sure I missed some. So you guys feel free in the comment section below to go down there and school everybody on all the little free modifications that you can do to a Fox body to make them run better. But with all that being said, everything that we've talked about, what kind of difference is it gonna make? How does it compare? Well, it's gonna make quite a difference in your car. You're definitely gonna feel it. If you did all of this stuff at one time that we just talked about, you will absolutely feel a difference in your car. I think you're gonna get more seat of the pants feel from this than you would from, say, like I said, a GT40 heads, or possibly even like a small, like twisted wedge head or something like that. If the heads were the only modification you did, and you still had your 273 gears in the car or 308 gears, and you didn't have any other modifications, those heads are probably not gonna wake this car up like all these modifications will right here. There's some other ones I just can't remember off the top of my head. Guys, there's power to be found on a shoestring budget. And that's how you do it. Guys, help them out down in the comments below. If you can think of anything else, free mods, super cheap mods, put them down below in the comment section. We're going to go ahead and wrap this video up though. And as always, thanks for watching.